I call it the kind of 21st century version of the medieval marketplace, where you get to go out there and be yourself, and it costs nothing, and you're not hiding behind the corporate brand anymore.
Well, hello and welcome to another guest interview here on the Profit with Law podcast. I'm your host, Moshe Amsel, and I am super excited for this conversation because we're going to be talking all things social media. If you've been wondering whether you should be on TikTok, the answer is yes, according to Fin Wycherley, who I am interviewing today. But more importantly, so many people are trying to figure out, is social media something that I should be focusing on at the beginning, or is it something that I focus on at the end? Am I doing Google PPC first and then dealing with social media? Like, where do my marketing dollars go, and where does my marketing effort go? And so much of our conversation when we bring marketers in is around SEO, PPC, LSAs, referrals even. What about social media? Right? What about social media? And so that's why I'm excited about having a guest who that's her focus. So she's quite impressive actually. So we're going to introduce her in just a moment. But before I do that, before I introduce Fin, you should know that our Law Firm Growth Summit is going to be happening very, very shortly, within the next couple of weeks. I'm forgetting when this is going to get released, but February 4th, 5th, and 6th, first week of February, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, is our annual Law Firm Growth Summit. The Law Firm Growth Summit is a virtual conference. It's free to attend. Registration is free. There's really no excuse not to register, even if it's just to attend one session. And if growing your client base is something that you want to do, then you should also know that we have a ton of content around that. So day 2 in the afternoon and day 3 are going to be focused on constructing your client generation machine. Here's just a sampling of some of the talks that we have that are confirmed and are going to be happening. We have Brian Glass, who's going to be talking on marketing that doesn't break the bank, cost-effective strategies for solo and small firms. We have Michael Straunch, mastering your intake and sales process for explosive growth. John Hinson, referrals through lead nurturing. Jason Sircone, how to use podcasting to effectively market your law practice. Carrie Flynn, unique and powerful networking and lead generation strategies that lead you to your best clients. Tracy DeForge, elevate your authority and expand your law practice with a podcast. Cassidy Lewis, no more seat fillers, hiring the right marketing leader. Jan Roos, lessons learned on non-attorney closers. Chris Mullins, sales intake. Stacey Brown Randall, she wrote the book on referrals. Want more referrals? Start with who? Jay Ruane, the build, connect, intake process. Chad Kirby, unlocking the AI advantage, the hidden strategy top firms use to secure more clients. Ben Fisher, GBP and LSA ranking. Folks, what did I just list? 9 topics, 9 talks just on marketing and sales. If this is something that you need, if you need more clients, the answer is always yes, please, from every business owner I've ever met, right? Then you want to come to the Law Firm Growth Summit. You want to attend some of these sessions, and you probably want to splurge on the recordings so that you get access to over 50 sessions that we're going to have at the Law Firm Growth Summit. Go to lawfirmgrowthsummit.com for your free registration. All right, back to our introduction here. Fin Wycherley helps lawyers, attorneys, professionals, experts, and consultants gain trust, loyalty, and visibility in the online marketplace. Her clients achieve an average of 4 to 5 million views each month by learning how to craft a standout human personal brand that inspires and educates their target audience in the gladiatorial ring of public opinion, then builds a lead generation ecosystem using all the social media platforms, plus email marketing, ads, and response optimization. Fin is a regular speaker on the BBC, featured in The Guardian, The Times, The Telegraph, and a range of business podcasts. She is also followed by Barack Obama himself and a whole range of celebrities and brands online. Fin, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. I'm so delighted to be here.
And I'm delighted to have you. So real quick, give us your backstory. Who are you? Where are you from? How in the world did you get into social media? What makes you an expert in this industry?
All right, so the short story is I'm in Scotland, Edinburgh in particular, and most of my clients are in America. I first started off when I finished school, went off to university, did a law degree after spending time in Paris. and then went straight into marketing and journalism afterwards because it was, in Scotland it's super niche. It wasn't going to be very interesting for me. So marketing and journalism most of my life, and then finally social media came around and I was like, wow, this is the thing. After having worked with lots of politicians and CEOs, helped with their kind of speech writing and speech delivery, social media was the ultimate opportunity for businesses and charities to get out there in front of the people with no budget and just creativity to make the magic happen. Because back in the old days, before social media, if you wanted to be a successful business, you needed a big, decent marketing budget. But with social media, all you needed was great creativity and ability to use your charisma, get there in front of the camera, rip it up with some gossip or behind the scenes chat. And suddenly you've got followers in the millions. Not all of them are going to be clients, obviously, but a good percentage of them are going to convert into clients and referrals like nobody's business. So I call it the kind of 21st century version of the medieval marketplace, where you get to go out there and be yourself, and it costs nothing, and you're not hiding behind the corporate brand anymore.
I love it. Love your story, Finn. And so many of us just accidentally stepped into what we do, and some of it is what our parents set us on the path for. But it's obvious that you're passionate about it, and that's why I'm excited to have this conversation with you. So let's start with the basics. The big question I asked in the introduction, and this is really, I think, the thing that people grapple with the most, is my marketing budget is finite. For many of my listeners, they don't even have a marketing budget, right? Um, and that marketing budget is finite. How do I decide where to direct it? Like, where does social media fall on the spectrum, and does it depend on the type of, like, for we're doing we have law firms as our listeners, right? So there's different practice areas in every law firm. Does it matter what practice area we're in to answer this question?
Yeah, I think it's when you don't have a big budget to play with, you got to be super judicious about how you're going to allocate your time, energy, and your budget as well. So for like platforms like TikTok and YouTube and things like that, I normally find the kind of B2C law firms perform particularly well. So that's immigration, family, employment, personal injury, those kind of firms, those kind of lawyers and attorneys are going to perform outstandingly well compared to the more kind of B2B type of firms, where I would say, you can stick with having a more kind of low-key thought leader, kind of traditional style of performance. But ultimately, even if you are B2B, the opportunity is there to get out there and show us how amazing you are. Because when it comes to online experiences, nobody wants to be sold to, but everybody wants to be the smartest person in the room. So if you're that kind of super smart contract guy who knows the back and forth of everything, and you're able to inform and entertain people about how the latest kind of gossip is going on the contracts that are happening, and obviously putting in all the kind of disclosures and the protections, then you'll be surprised how electrifying that following starts to become, because people feel like they're behind the scenes getting to understand something that wasn't necessarily available through mainstream media, and they've got somebody on the inside who's helping them to dish the dirt on what's happening. Then it becomes an incredibly attractive proposition, as opposed to just being a marketing person that, like always on LinkedIn, they're going, I'm delighted to announce, or we're so pleased to show, or here's our latest intern. And that's basically what I call narcissistic marketing, because it's focused on here's me, it's me, as opposed to focusing on what was really, really important for the target audience.
I think one of the reasons that people are not wanting to focus on social media is because they feel like they're not a public person. They're not like I'm not going to go out there and do these things. They also don't have the time, right? I'm not going to spend the time necessary to put the input in. How do you structure social media in a way that they can get over that? That it's not about your personality. It's not about, telling everybody about your family and your last vacation, and and it's not about spending hours and hours a day on social. What's the right approach to social media that owners can take that helps them overcome these obstacles to say, yeah, I actually think we could invest in social media and get a return on it?
Yeah, I mean, the best place to look at is the competitors in your space who are absolutely killing it on the various social media platforms, whether it's YouTube or TikTok or Instagram. And if you can see that, there's like employment lawyers up there who've got like 20 million fans, and they've got a huge network now, and they've got opportunities on TV and the press and media because of the fact that they've become mini celebrities in the newsfeed in their very tight niche as well, then that demonstrates that having that personal brand approach, whether you're running your own business or whether you are in corporate behind the scenes kind of thing, ultimately it's always going to build trust, because any kind of marketing that the marketing team will do in the marketing office is nothing compared to the actual experts getting in front of the camera. It's just like having the marketing team speaking on your behalf at a networking event, or at a conference. It's just not going to work when you actually have the people themselves seeing that, if I find the technical skills and the mindset skills to be able to really, roll up my sleeves for social media, then the results can be enormous. So we have like Attorney Martinez, she's got millions and millions. She's got her TV show coming out. We've got Attorney Ryan, he's an employment lawyer. He's got millions and millions of followers. Gloria Mark Cardenas, immigration lawyer, millions of views per month. And that always translates into hundreds of inquiries. And we literally have to bat them back into the following months because she's like wall to wall dealing with the consultations, and the consultations are not free either. They're quite hefty. So she's not just they're not just getting the opportunities to get, paid consultations, but a good percentage of those consultations will also turn into retainers as well. So, this is the magic of social once you're ready to fully embrace it, as opposed to what a lot of lawyers and normal business people will do is like, I'll give it a shot, and if I don't like it, I won't do it. But the reality is you've got to fully commit, because it does require, a good commitment, a good strategy in order to make sure you're standing out in the newsfeed, that you don't come across like too cheesy, too salesy, or too bland and too generic. So it is a question of fine tuning it, but ultimately, you just got to bash out those first 100 videos, and gradually through that process, you'll begin to find your voice and your confidence, and the feedback from the community becomes immense as well.
Now, is the reason that B2C is really the best uh, placed attorneys for social media because everybody out there is potentially their customer? Is that because I'm thinking of myself, right? Like my target market are lawyers, and specifically law firm owners, right? Like a lawyer working within a firm probably has zero interest in paying attention to anything that we produce or have to say. Um, that's a very finite market, right? Like I don't think I'm gonna ever build my channels up to millions of viewers. Does that mean that social is not something that should be a focus, or like what like how do we navigate that differentiation, because there's a lot of listeners who might be in B2B or even B2C where it's more, like I need somebody right now, like criminal defense attorneys probably are not as great on social as somebody who's doing immigration, right? Because when somebody needs a criminal defense lawyer, it's because they just got into trouble. Like I need somebody now. It's not because I've been following them on social for the last 2 years.
Yeah, absolutely. The reality, though, is that I don't know about you, but I find that Google is becoming less and less useful to actually search for stuff that you can trust. And people are really starting to move away from using Google as a search tool just because the kind of results that you get on page one are, like the huge law firms or the huge kind of directories type of thing, and to actually get to one or two like decent local lawyers is almost impossible, and for the lawyers it costs an absolute fortune to actually appear there. So while people are moving away from that Google search because it's really not providing the right results, they are going into places like TikTok. TikTok is a phenomenal place for actually search. It's very search focused. It's very keyword focused. So if you put in immigration lawyer, you're instantly going to see a panoply of all the different kind of flavors of immigration lawyer coming up, and you can see instantly the ones who've got the big followings, the ones who've just got a very, very powerful post because it's really hitting the money at the moment. And then you get a sense of those people, whether they're your type of people, they've got your kind of vibe, they follow your kind of politics or your philosophies of life, whether you feel like you could work with this person. So you can see instantly from that search who's going to be your person. So I think, and that's the issue between SEO and TikTok and YouTube as well. People are asking, how do I make sure I get a refund from DACA at the moment? And they might go onto YouTube for that type of thing rather than onto Google. And then instantly you're going to see a whole bunch of immigration lawyers who are busy on YouTube answering those questions and providing something of incredible value for them. And it's totally based on the SEO. And because of the fact that it's video based, and even if it's like a short 30-second, 1.5 minute type of thing, it's always going to come up higher in the rankings than any kind of post or blog or even paid SEO type of thing, because it's really hitting the most search kind of questions and the most relevant questions, as well as the most kind of newsworthy questions that are happening at the moment.
So earlier you answered a question with basically like, if you have a little bit of technical expertise, if you have a little bit of personality, then you can definitely go out there and do this. Um, I'm a big fan of who not how, right? Like if I don't know if you've read the book, but it's a great terminology, a great saying, and really the more that I work with clients, especially in the early stages, right, working with solos who are trying to grow beyond themselves. And folks, by the way, we do have a coaching program called Law Firm Growth Elite, and if that's something that you're interested in, to be able to go from a solo to a $1 million+ law firm with an attorney on staff, then you definitely want to have a conversation with us. You can have that conversation for free at profitwithlaw.com/strategy session. My team will link that up in the show notes. Didn't intend to plug that there, but once I mention it, I have to give it, right? So, but what I found with when working with my clients is that the real secret to their success, the real thing that moves the needle, is when they start to get really good about delegating and having other people do it, right? To think that somebody who's trying to build a practice, trying to be a busy practice, that they're going to focus their time and effort and energy on social media, I don't think is very realistic. So what are the who's that you need? Who do you need to assemble in order to create and develop a good social media strategy? So I know that we need Finn to basically help us create the strategy, but what happens behind that? What are the pieces of the puzzle that we need to actually make this happen?
Great question. But you'd be surprised how quickly the lawyers pick it up and are happy to get on with it themselves. Because although at the beginning it is a bit of a mind stretch getting around all the technical aspects as well as the kind of scripting aspects, it doesn't take, 3 to 6 months before they're like, okay, I'm good. I can do this in my own time. But essentially, just to build up confidence and to make sure they're on the right track, we will help them with deciding what the content pieces are going to be over the next 3 to 6 months based on the most frequent questions people are asking, what are the most useful issues that are being discussed at this particular moment, looking at the other experts in that space and working out, okay, that was a particularly powerful post. Can we do something which riffs off that type of theme, for example? So then we're working out what those posts are, what the kind of key bullet points are going to be, what the call to action is going to be. And then we give it to them to actually go for it. And often they'll just, video it either in bits and then send it over to us, or they'll try and do it in a oneer and then send it over to us. But normally at the beginning, they don't have so much confidence, so they'll just do it, a kind of a paragraph at a time or a sentence at a time, and then send it over to us. And then we'll just edit it all up and make it fantastic, put in all the captions, and then post it up for them as well if they need to. So therefore, the only thing that they're being required to do is just talk to camera, or not even talk to camera. Sometimes, you're being interviewed. So you're having that kind of interview setup. You're not necessarily having to speak direct to camera. It depends on what kind of setup we're going to be deciding on. One of my lawyers, he loves to do it on the golf course because he loves to be able to combine his number one passion with law. So therefore, he works with a local camera guy to actually capture his thoughts and insights while he's going around the golf course. And then by the time they finish that 4 hours on the golf course, by the time they've hit the 18th pin, then it's time to send all that material over to us. We're going to edit it up for them. And then either they can post it out, schedule it out for the rest of the month or the next 3 months, and then make sure it's optimized with all the right keywords and the hashtags and the calls to action and things like that, or their team will do it for them.
Yeah, I think that's that last part is the part that really I think is important, which is we're not saying the attorney is going to be coming up with the SEO title and the hashtags and the like your expertise, you know what you need to talk about, and you can record some video that talks about that, and then there can be somebody behind you or a team of people behind you that edits that into bite-sized content, that turns that into pictorial graphics with quotes on it, that turns it into longer form, articles that can be posted on social, and short form articles and little nuggets that can be posted. Like there's when you create 4 hours of video, that can be turned into hundreds and hundreds of pieces of content that can be posted all over social media on the various platforms. But the attorney shouldn't be the one doing that, and there's got to be somebody, an agency or employees, or there are people behind that that are taking that and running with it.
Exactly. And the crazy thing right now is that with AI, we are taking it to the next level. So we're able to take those videos from the clients and then make them actually sound like they're talking in Spanish and the mouth is moving exactly like they're speaking in Spanish, and then or Arabic or Mandarin, and then we're putting it out there, and it's just ridiculous how the results are from the fact that we're the people can see that they're able to speak in another language, but we're obviously subtitling it to say, we need to have that clarity. We need to have that candor. We're not going to say, okay, suddenly our client is speaking fluent Mandarin. That's going to be ridiculous. We're going to say, this is being created with the help of AI. What do you think of it? Are there any kind of mistakes in there? Do you think it's useful? Do you think we should go back to English? So it's all about making sure we're always building trust. We're not trying to pull the wool over anybody's eyes, and then building that huge community around as a result.
Yeah, it's an interesting take on it, and I'm familiar with that that technology and that software. I know exactly which platform you're referring to. Um, the thing you need to be careful about, besides for leading people to believe that you speak a language you don't speak, is that if you speak in another language, you're going to attract people who that might be the only language they speak. So you need to have, like, if you're going to do videos in Spanish, you want to make sure that you have somebody on your team that can communicate with Spanish speaking people. Otherwise, you're setting yourself up for a problem.
No, 100%. So, I mean, it would only be on a language where they're already comfortable, or they've got people in the team who already speak that language. So it wouldn't be relevant to do it in a language which is where they don't have any expertise at all.
Okay. So we need to have a strategy around social media. We need to have a team behind us to be able to turn it into the most effective use of our time so that we can get all these different pieces of content. I have two questions behind that. And number one is, um, how much time does it take to build a following? You used examples at the beginning. You mentioned a bunch of attorneys who are getting millions of views, right? Sometimes it's very sexy for me to stand here and say, hey, so and so is our client and he's running a $10 million firm. But then behind the scenes, yeah, 20 years went into them getting to $10 million. And we didn't actually have anything to do with the success of that, right? Like, uh, what it, it's great to have these samples of attorneys who are killing it because it's possible. But for somebody who's following a strategy, they have the team behind it and start putting content out, what's the time frame that it takes? Minimum, maximum, range? What should the expectation be that we're going to make this investment and it's going to take some time for it to get the momentum and to build on it on itself, and we shouldn't expect the phone to be ringing from the content we're putting out there for a while.
You'd be surprised. I mean, I literally have clients all the time. When they start working with me, I have to reassure them that they will be on TikTok. They normally are kicking and screaming and crying into their beer, going, no chance. I'm not going to be singing and dancing. I'm a respectable attorney. But within about 3 posts, when they've got 200,000 views, and they're normally used to 200, if you're lucky, then they're like, okay, all right, all right, all right, let's go. What do I need to do to get 1 million views now? Now I'm hooked. So it's that natural momentum that happens when you see one post that suddenly was the outlier. If you're used to 200 or 300 people seeing your post and suddenly you're into the 5,000s or 500,000s, it becomes very, very attractive. And the more you do, the more you work out what is the most successful for you in terms of lead generation, in terms of, visibility, in terms of interaction. And ultimately, the key to everything on social media is engagement. Because if you don't get the engagement, you're not going to get the reach, you're not going to get the visibility. Because as far as the algorithms are concerned, if you're that person that's just shucking all kind of posts like 10 times a day, and it's all about me, it's boring, it's bland, it's generic, you're not going to get any success whatsoever at all, because the algorithms are like, okay, how many people liked this? How many people commented on it? How many people shared this? If they show it to 200 people and none of those 200 people who are already your fans actually engaged with it, then objectively speaking, that's a garbage piece of content. So they're going to actually close it down and limit the damage you're causing the newsfeed. Whereas if you're thinking seriously about doing this properly and you put up some really smart, kind of really well thought through kind of content, you're going to be hitting 10,000, 50,000 on a daily, or even if you want to start like doing 2 or 3 times a week, if it's well thought through and you're really hitting the vibe of your values, of your sense of humor, or your charisma, whatever your kind of strong point is, then that's the stuff that is going to get the engagement, because that's what you need. And even we've got some clients, for example, who are very strong Democrats. And they have learned that the more they kind of poke the Trump kind of supporters, the more they get a big reaction. And then that helps with the visibility of their posts. So now they learn to love their haters even more, because they're actually helping to grow their business.
Very interesting concept, and you know, you, we got to find other divides besides for Democrat and Republican, because that there's other bears to be poked, in your terminology. So I had another question, but I can't remember what it was right now. I should write these down as they come up. But I'm just going to recap what we discussed so far. So far we talked about the fact that pretty much anybody can have a social media strategy. We didn't really talk about budget, but we did talk about the fact that you need to have a strategy. You need to have a team behind you to take the content that you create and turn it into posts, do the actual posting or the at least the identifying of the right title and the right structure of the content and hashtags and that dependent on the platform. I do remember my question now. So um, the natural next question is, okay, so which platform, right? Where is everything going? And I know the answer is all, right? But different people are going to perform well on different platforms, and also platforms of in my understanding of social platforms have like different styles, right? Like you can't put an Instagram post on Twitter and expect it to do well, right? So, um, what are your what's your opinions around this, and how should people approach this idea of deciding where it should be?
So the first place we always start is by, checking out the competition. We'll do benchmark across all of the competition, see where their strengths are, and work out, is it because they like that platform, or is it because that platform is actually doing good for them? And then work out actually which one is going to be the one that we lead with. So if you decide, for example, that YouTube is the one that you want to lead with, or TikTok is the one you're going to be leading with, then you're going to create those videos for that particular platform. And again, those videos don't have to be more than like 90 seconds, for example. And the hard work goes into actually creating that video. That's where all the effort goes into. That's where all that creativity and technical ability goes into. But the easy part then is putting it into the different platforms. So you can have a tool, for example, that schedules it out. It's gone out on TikTok, it's going out on Facebook, it's going out on Instagram Reels, it's going out on the LinkedIn videos, it's going out on the YouTube Shorts, because all of these platforms after TikTok have recognized we need to be more TikTok, obviously. So therefore, they've all tried to make sure that they adapt to be more TikTok on their platforms. That's why Facebook and Instagram introduced the Reels, for example. So literally that post will perform equally well across all of the platforms, but in different ways. So when you use the kind of scheduling tools, you put up the video across all the platforms. And then when you're putting the annotations and the captions up, obviously they can be different, because the way you put it up together for Twitter is going to be different for how you put it together on LinkedIn. At the moment, LinkedIn loves videos, so it's going to put a lot more premium kind of performance on a post that has a video on it as well. So literally having it across all of the platforms is a good investment of time, because it doesn't take 5 minutes to post it across all of the platforms. And ultimately, just because of the fact we're a bit in limbo because TikTok might be closed down, it's a very smart strategy as well, because who knows which platform is going to go bankrupt, which platform is going to still be here in 10 years time. So I think it's a safe bet. All the hard work goes into creating that one piece of content. Then you post it out across all of the platforms, but you adjust the way that you post it so that it vibes with that particular platform. And then to pick up on the earlier question about having a whole team, it's actually not necessary to have a whole team at all. A lot of people will start with no team whatsoever, because obviously if you have a whole team, it's going to have a big, sizable budget around you. So what we like to do is we like to make sure that the clients, the lawyers, are already by themselves, or with a combination of kind of very kind of low touch support, building up a big enough community that they're actually generating a good level of leads from social media before we're starting to bring in the clients. So we've got even law students, for example, who are now, we've got one who's already just hit million fans. And of course, she's now shopping around all the law firms, and they're just like sitting back on their chairs going, oh my goodness, they're wanting to bite her hand off, because she's going to be competing with all the other law grads who don't have much of a following at all beyond their kind of friends and family. And of course, she'll be, charting her story, her journey with this particular law firm that she comes with. And of course, they're going to be absolutely over the moon that she's bringing that huge community with her. And they've all got referrals. They've all got aunties and uncles. They've all got grandparents. I mean, we're all 3 degrees of separation now. It's not 6 anymore. That's why, because Barack Obama follows me, and then we're connected, you're only 2 degrees connected to Barack Obama now. So everybody's connected to everyone nowadays. And that's why, because of the fact that it's free, and because of the fact that you can actually master those tools by getting coached. For example, we do group coaching as well. Then we help you get to that point where now you can actually outsource all different aspects of it as the budget improves.
I love all of this, Ben. It's really a great conversation, and also really important for people to understand the power of social media. As easy as you want to make it sound, I think that it's important to be real with our audience, and um, it's not easy, right? Like nothing is easy. Nothing is just I'm going to press a button and it's going to happen. Even with AI, even with all the tools that are out there, and there are tools that you can, make videos that look like you and make audio that, content that looks like you. I mean, you can have a whole podcast interview with an AI bot acting as you having a conversation with somebody else. I mean, it's really crazy the technology that's out there. But at the end of the day, there has to be a commitment on your part that social media is something that you're going to be investing not just money but time, energy, effort into, to grow strategically. And I think that's really the big takeaway from our conversation, is that just going out there on social and doing posts and hoping that you're going to do okay it's not a good strategy. And you need an expert who understands how the algorithm behaves, understands human nature, understands what people want, and how to analyze what your competition is doing. And I'm not a big fan of competition, but I like looking at other firms that are doing something similar as you and they are getting success. What are they doing to be successful? Looking at where other people are successful is input that helps you to understand what you might need to do to achieve success as well. Um, and then paying attention to the metrics and understanding when something gets significantly more attention than something else you've done, that should be an indicator that this is what people want to hear, this is what people want to see, and this is where we should, maybe focus more effort on and lean into it. We had that recently with this, FinCEN BOI reporting, right? People were confused about what they need to do, and we realized, oh, we better just put some content out about it and just educate the audience, and and the people who are already paying attention to us on what they need to do. So really understanding that stuff, paying attention to it, is going to help guide what you need to do. Now, Finn, as we wrap up this recording and this episode, what I want to do is I want to give you an opportunity to leave a parting piece of wisdom for our audience, and also share how they can learn more about you, perhaps take the next steps in working with you. Where do you want to send our audience if this is something that that really was pertinent to them? Before you answer those two questions, though, I want to just remind everybody that we have our Law Firm Growth Summit upcoming. It is a virtual conference. It's over 3 days, 3 full days, February 4th, 5th, and 6th. And that is absolutely free to register at lawfirmgrowthsummit.com. And we have an amazing lineup of speakers already committed to this event. I went through them earlier, but I'll just give you a few, just to kind of whet your appetite. And we're talking about social media, right? So we just on marketing and sales alone, we've got 2.5 days of content. So we have somebody talking about how to use podcasting to effectively market your law practice. That's Jason Sircone. We have marketing that doesn't break the bank, and we're talking about cost effective strategies for solo and small law firms by Brian Glass. So that's for our startup category. Then our expansion category, which is our law firms that are growing, from solo to up to 4 attorneys. Michael Straunch, John Hinson, mastering your intake and sales process for explosive growth, referrals through lead nurturing. Also in the expansion category, we have Tracy DeForge, elevate your authority and expand your law practice with a podcast. Cassidy Lewis, no more seat fillers, hiring the right marketing leader. And then in our legacy creator category, we have Ben Fisher talking about Google Business Profile and LSA rankings. We have Jan Roos talking about lessons learned on non-attorney closers. I mean, if you ever wanted to have a non-attorney salesperson on your team, you definitely want to have them come and listen to that. So we've got a ton of content, over 50 different topics are going to be discussed at the Law Firm Growth Summit, and this is something you do not want to miss. You can register absolutely for free at lawfirmgrowthsummit.com. You can also, after you register, you have the opportunity to purchase a VIP ticket, which comes with recordings of everything, which is highly valuable because you may not make it to every session. You may not make it to all 3 days. Everything is available as a recording immediately after the event. Check it out there. And Finn, I'm going to turn it back to you to answer those parting two questions here as we close out the episode.
So I guess my kind of summary would be that, when you're investing in social media, I remember it's free. You can do it for free. You can do all of the aspects for free. But ultimately, what you're working towards is becoming a key person of influence. Without having your content out there, your face out there on a regular basis, you're just an expert behind the corporate doors, behind the corporate brand. So if you're getting out there on a regular basis, you're starting to build a community around you, you're becoming influential, you're becoming known, you might even become legendary in your newsfeed, then opportunities start arising. You get asked to speak on the BBC like I do regularly and various media channels, and then you're an expert speaker in conferences, and then you're obviously able to charge much higher fees as well, because people are like, okay, I don't want to work with those divorce lawyers. I want to work with this person that I've been following for the last 5 years. So it doesn't matter if you're just starting up in a garage and now you're playing stadiums. You got to start somewhere, because ultimately it is a marathon, not a sprint. And you will always win with every single post that goes out there.
Awesome.
If people want to find me, you can find me Fin Wycherley across social media, TikTok, LinkedIn, and the agency that I run is called Supersize Media, for supersizing your profits and supersizing your business through supersizing your message.
Awesome. Love it. Finn, thank you so much for being here. This was amazing conversation, amazing content. Really appreciate you sharing your wisdom with our audience. Folks, if you enjoyed this episode, we just want one thing from you. Share it with a friend. Tell somebody about it. That is how word grows about our podcast. Just like you want to have happen on social media, you want your stuff to go viral, you want people to be sharing it left and right, you want those thousands and thousands of viewers. We just want one more podcast listener that you referred this episode out to. Just grab a link to it, text it to a friend who's a law firm owner, and say, hey, just listen to this episode. Thought of you. It's an amazing conversation around social media. Check it out. Would love if you did that for us and just helped us spread the word about the Profit with Law podcast. Folks, we are here every single week on Thursday mornings with a brand new interview here for you, and we'll be here again next week. So take care, enjoy, and we'll see you then.